Welcome back to day 4 of this 14-day series where we'll be making San Francisco-style sourdough bread next week. But first, this week, we're still working on making our very own sourdough starter from scratch. On day 2 of this series, we mixed our flour and water for the first time, and then let it rest for 24 hours. Then yesterday, we refreshed our starter by feeding it the same amount of the same types of flour, and then letting it rest again. Now hopefully you watched the second bonus video yesterday, which showed you what to do if your starter was already rising and falling pretty quickly. If not, I'd highly recommend that you go back and watch that now so that you can see what it looks like when the starter peaks and then comes back down, and also what happens if it goes further than that and starts making the dreaded hooch. So this is the part of the series where it becomes a bit of a choose-your-own-adventure series. Or if that reference is a bit too old school for you, then maybe Bandersnatch might make more sense? Either way, the point's the same. There are really two options in front of you. If your starter is barely creating bubbles or rising in between feedings, then you want to choose option A. If your starter is rising nice and tall and falling again within a half a day, then option B is right for you. Now, I don't have any cool technology that lets you click to the right place now, so I'll just go through both options and let you decide what to do from there. With option A, we're still in the early starter creation stage, where we want to give it plenty of nutrients and start to slowly encourage growth. This means that we should feed it the same mixture as before of 75 grams wholemeal flour, 25 grams white flour, and 100 grams of water. First though, you want to discard half of your existing starter to make room for the new mixture. Then you put it back in its warm environment and take a look every couple of hours so you can see exactly how it's doing. When it hits its peak and starts falling again, go ahead and feed it again the same way as described here. Once you see it rising pretty tall and peaking within about 4 to 12 hours, then you can move on to option B. With option B, we're starting to stabilize our starter into a normal feeding schedule, and for us, we're also starting the transition towards it becoming a white flour only starter. So this means that now we mix our starter well before pouring out only around 50 grams into a new container. Then add in 50 grams of wholemeal flour and 50 grams of white flour. Finally add in that 100 grams of water as before. Then mix it together well and follow the same procedure as previous days to put it into its final container, mark it with a rubber band, and put it back in a warm spot to continue growing. With both of these options though, you're going to have to use your own judgment on when it's time to feed it again. If it's rising too fast for you, like if you want to make sure that it makes it through the night without needing a feeding, then you can move it to a bit of a cooler environment which will slow things down. If you're still struggling to get much growth out of it, or if you're stuck in option A for more than a couple days, then you might want to look at changing one of three things. First, you can make the environment you keep it in a bit warmer. Second, you can change the water you're using when you feed it to filtered or bottled water if you've been using tap water until now. Or finally, you might even want to change the flour you're using to see if that helps. Whatever you decide to do, you now have an outline for how to proceed with option A and then option B before moving on to the next video. Once your starter is rising to at least twice its original height and peaking somewhere between 3 and 8 hours usually, then it's time to move on to the next video in this series. Until then, please make sure and post your progress on Instagram and Twitter with the hashtag #I'mALoafHacker so I can see your progress as you go. And ask any questions you'd like in the comments below if you want everyone to see, or feel free to DM me on Instagram for more personalized advice. So wherever you are along your sourdough starter journey, I hope you're having fun, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next video in this series. Bye for now.